right, guys. How we doing tonight? Robbie Falk here, 247 Sports, Starkville Daily News, live from the friendly confines of my home in Choctaw County, Mississippi. We got some fun stuff to talk about tonight. Going to discuss Mississippi State's latest work on the recruiting trail. Zach Arnett and company continue to keep it rolling, and hoping for some more good news coming up pretty soon. So we'll see what transpires from that. But for right now, I mean, this is a staff that's red hot on the recruiting trail. Zach Arnett and company are now 17th in the country in recruiting. So they got a top 20 class. Still very early. It's still summertime. There's a lot of schools that haven't really gotten going on the recruiting trail just yet. You know, State's ahead of Alabama right now, so there's still, work that's going to be done there for them. But I don't think anybody can be upset if you're a Mississippi State fan of what's going on right now for the Bulldogs in recruiting. So let's kind of start off where we left off last week when we started talking about all this. And, of course, it was a crazy, crazy week last week. They had the 3 4-star commitments that came through on the day that we actually had our last Talkin Dawgs Live Chat, one of our biggest chats that we've had since I've started this thing. I think you guys are really pumped up about all that. J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside, the 2 4-star wide receivers, committed. After the 4-star cornerback P.J. Woodland from Oak Grove committed, you had 3 4-stars from the state of Mississippi jumping on board there in one day, and it was really an insane day that happened for Mississippi State. On top of that, you had Dakota Jordan jumping in the transfer portal. What we didn't talk about was the day after that Talkin Dawgs and the day after all that stuff happened, Dakota Jordan decided to get out of the transfer portal for baseball. So it was just an insane 24 hours for Mississippi State sports, and kind of quieted down a little bit until Saturday night. And on Saturday night, you got all the coaches starting to tweet again, the GIFs, and Zach Arnett's tweeting out the GIF that he usually does whenever there's a commitment, and that kind of sparked a big buzz around the internet on our message board on Twitter, and we started to figure out who it was. Mississippi State landed 4-star offensive lineman Jimothy Lewis from former MRA offensive lineman, now at IMG Academy. I just said on the message board that day I'd heard that Mississippi State had made up a lot of ground for him, but no one could have predicted that Jimothy Lewis was the guy that was going to commit that day. Just a huge shock across the SEC, especially across the state of Mississippi, because Mississippi State's battling Ole Miss for Jimothy Lewis, just like they were J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside. So grabbing a guy like that, a massive offensive lineman, 6'6", 275. Mississippi State's been recruiting this kid since he was in 8th or 9th grade at MRA. A couple years ago, he goes to IMG Academy, transfers down there. In my mind, when he transferred from MRA to IMG Academy, I'm thinking Mississippi State is out of the running for this kid. But I thought that Will Friend and his recruitment of Jimothy Lewis was a big deal here. You got a guy that has recruited going into homes inside the Southeast and won some big recruiting battles. That's what he does here. Will Friend wins a big-time recruiting battle for this monster Jimothy Lewis, who has offers from around the country, around the SEC. Some of the biggest names nationally have offered Jimothy Lewis, just like they did Terrence Hibbler and J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside. All those guys have some big-time offers. And so for Mississippi State to land this guy in June, you still got a long ways to go to get his signature, but you would much rather have this guy in the class committed to you than him being committed elsewhere. So that says a lot about Mississippi State, the selling job that they did on Jimothy Lewis, and for Will Friend, and I think Tony Hughes might have been involved here too. So just a big-time recruiting job for the Bulldogs to land him. So that puts Mississippi State at, by the composite, 6 4-star rated players, which is already more than they had all of last year. And that's a great start. At this point in the summer, I don't know if they've ever had 6 4-stars committed before July. This is a great development for Mississippi State. Now, you got to sign these guys. It doesn't mean anything that they're committed. They've got to be signed. You've got to have them in the class with their signature. But like I said a while ago, you'd much rather have them committed and in your class right now than not. So good on Zach Arnett and company for already having those guys on board. So after Saturday, you get the commitment of Jimothy Lewis, and on Monday? Yeah. On Monday, another commitment comes through for the Bulldogs. A little bit of a surprise of the timing of that, but Paul Jones from our side on 247 has felt very confident that Mississippi State was going to land Vicksburg edge rusher Tyler Carter, and they get that commitment. I felt like this was probably going to be coming maybe at the cookout in July when Mississippi State hosts a big-time weekend there. But going ahead and get this guy locked up is huge too. 6'6", 250, can really run, can really bend, athletic guy, plays baseball. He's a really good baseball player for Vicksburg as well, and just a perfect fit for what David Turner is looking for in a defensive lineman. He saw this kid at camp I guess it was this month. A few weeks ago, saw this kid at camp, and I know David Turner was completely sold on this guy. So I think this is another huge get for Mississippi State. And you're starting to see this class really come together from a standpoint of position by position. You have these offensive linemen now. I mean, looking at the offensive line, you got Jimothy Lewis, you got TJ Lockhart, who else you got? And Keyshawn Shepard from Germantown, Tennessee. And Luke Work. All those guys that were guys that you've been recruiting that are athletic, they're big. I think you can take maybe one more offensive lineman and then you go to the portal for another one. You got a great offensive line class right now. You got your tight end in Jay Lindsey, who just picked up an Alabama offer, has an Ole Miss offer. It looks like he's pretty strong in his commitment right now. That looks like a big-time commit. Your defensive line right now is Tyler Carter and Terrence Hibbler, so you'd like to add to that group with another couple of guys. Cameron Beavers is obviously one of the big guys there. Your wide receivers right now are J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside. That's a great start. Your quarterback is a 4-star out of Alabama and Josh Flowers. That's a great start. Defensive backs, you're looking at P.J. Woodland, who's a 4-star cornerback. Xavier Gayton from Brookhaven, an athlete that's probably going to play safety. That looks like a good pickup as well. Caleb Dozier, defensive back. So right now, Mississippi State has 15 commitments, and it's from a variety of different positions. You're building your roster right now, a top 20 recruiting class. It looks really good to me so far for Mississippi State. So I really like what they're doing there when it comes to building the class and kind of getting your foothold in this class here, and in state and out of state. They've done a really good job. All right, we got questions, comments coming in, so we'll start on those. Good to see you, Ro. Glad you're in here. Here we go. That's absolutely right. I'm repping the Steelers right now, hoping for a season in which we're not really sad. Are we still expecting a commitment Saturday, offense or defense? That's what I hear. I think there's a good chance that they get one on Saturday. It remains to be seen who that is specifically, but I feel good about it being on the offensive side of the ball. My hair's not greasy either. I don't want you guys to think I got greasy hair. I just got out of the shower not too long ago. Maybe TMI, I don't know, but I care about my looks sometimes too. I have feelings too. Bryce Hall, do you think that since we've been so hot recruiting, Travaris Banks might flip back to us, or do you think Ole Miss or do you think you know who is going to hang on to him? I guess you're talking about Ole Miss. The people I talked to around him believe that was kind of a rash decision that he made with Ole Miss. He had a visit right before his commitment. They had really worked to get him on campus. They got him in there, pressured him to commit, and he made that decision. We'll see if it sticks. I don't know. The relationship was stronger with the Mississippi State staff to that point, and the people that I know that know him pretty well were kind of surprised by that commitment. I guess you could say the same thing about Jimothy Lewis. I mean, I felt like Ole Miss had a stronger connection with him. It was a surprise that he committed. So both of those guys, who knows? I mean, it could have been a rash decision for both of those guys. It could have been on a visit high. Once the season starts playing out and, other teams are still recruiting them and things like that, that's going to play out as well. So all that matters is who you sign on signing day. It's all nice to be talking about this stuff in June, but it doesn't matter until you sign those guys. And that's something that you'll have to continue to work through as the months transpire. Mississippi State's going to have to continue to recruit these guys really hard and recruit the guys that are committed elsewhere. Drew, what's up, Drew? Winston County, stand up. I will be in Louisville tomorrow, by the way, with Brian Haydad. We'll be having our Thunder and Lightning Catfish Tour in Louisville at Lake Teakata, one of my favorite restaurants in the state of Mississippi. Great people, great food. I'm really pumped about that. I know dozens of people that have already told me they're going to be there. Really excited to see a lot of those guys. Drew, I'm putting a lot of pressure on you. You need to be there. Can any of the $100 million donated to the school from the Bishop family be used for NIL? Please say yes. I have not heard anything different than that is going to be donated to the university. So, and when they donate that, you can't earmark that for the athletics. If they want it to go to the university, that's where it's going. And I have a feeling they already have an idea where that's going. My only problem with all that is if the university, we've seen now that you got the university's taking a couple of $1 million every year from athletics. If you're getting a $100 million donation, do you need to take $2 million from athletics? I've tried to get to the bottom of this. I haven't gotten a straight answer from someone of why this is happening. But if you need money that badly, now you got $100 million, there's no reason for you to take $2 million from athletics. Let athletics keep that. So, I can't imagine that the university is hurting for money, but athletics needs to keep up with the Jones too. So if that's the case, then the university shouldn't be taking money from athletics anymore. I would like for somebody, if there's somebody out there that knows, I've reached out to people that I thought could answer that question. Nobody's gotten back to me. If somebody out there knows why the university is taking money from athletics to give back to the university, please explain to me why that's happening and why Mississippi State is taking more money than some of its competition. I would like to know that answer. There's a lot of people that would like to know that answer too. So, Jack Bryan, for someone like Tyler Carter, does a commitment increase the speed which 247 goes to get a rising guy ranked, or what's the timeline on something like that? Good question. It really varies. Sometimes they do guys right away. Sometimes there's certain periods where they like to kind of round everybody up and reevaluate. There's a lot of times where we got to put a ranking on someone and got to do that in a hurry because they don't have a ranking, and that's one way to do it. For us, Tyler Carter is, I'm just looking at his ranking, he's at 86 on composite. We rated him higher. We rated him at 88, which I think is a very fair ranking for a guy that was, relatively unknown a few months, even weeks ago. His offer sheet is not, crazy. He's got offers from Middle Tennessee, South Alabama, and Southern Miss. Mississippi State's his only big-time offer. Right on the verge of being a 4-star with us. I think that was a fair ranking. Now he has an opportunity, I think, in the season when he puts out film, we have a chance to reevaluate him a little more. He can make a bit of a jump there. We were just having a conversation about this the other day, about the way that rankings happen. And my opinion of it is you got to take a lot of things into account. You got to take in the offer sheet. I think offers do matter, and I do understand that a lot of these offers that guys get are not committable. But I think if they are committable, and you can verify that with, we have team site writers that can verify those offers. If you can verify that, a Terrence Hibbler can commit to Alabama. He shouldn't be an 87. To me, if Alabama wants a guy, that should matter. And you add on to the fact that the guy has the measurables, the guy has the film. Terrence Hibbler is vastly underrated. Now, I know that we have plenty of time to reevaluate him and get the proper rankings. So we'll see how that goes. But I think you have to go a lot further than just looking at the film or just looking at the offers or just looking at the measurables. There's a lot of things that go into rankings. I personally would not want to do that. I would not want to be in charge of evaluating players because I'm not great at it. I can kind of look at a guy and tell you I'd feel good about him being an SEC guy. I can look at players on a high school field and tell if they're an SEC guy or not, usually. But I can't tell you about the twitch and the how he performs in the 40-yard dash and how that translates to the field. I mean, if a guy runs a 4.3, that obviously I feel like you have a pretty good idea this guy can run in this league. But there's a lot of things that go into that I couldn't do. So I don't envy those guys at all. Kyle Britt, how long before we get a baseball portal transfer, not counting the D2 kid? I don't know, man. This is something that's just an ever growing issue. I feel like with this fan base and the disconnect they're having with Chris Lemonis, I feel like Mississippi State has got some commitments. I know for a fact there's one guy committed. I know that 100% for a fact. And we're just waiting for these players to announce it. And I don't know, what the deal is there, why they want to announce that. Everybody in this league is announcing transfers. Everybody's got commitments. Your competition's kind of blowing you away in that regard. Ole Miss has got some good transfers. Arkansas has got some good transfers. Tennessee, LSU, Auburn, Mississippi State sitting there with a D2 pitcher. No disrespect to him at all, but for a program that's got to have some good news and Chris Lemonis has got to have people on his side, that it's just not right now. There's not a whole lot of juice behind Chris Lemonis in this program. There's not a lot to get excited about. So at some point they're going to have to get some big juice out there. And that's one thing. I don't think Chris Lemonis really cares about the positive vibes or anything like that, and that's fine. I know a lot of coaches are different. A lot of coaches handle their business differently. Chris Lemonis kind of works in silence a little bit, but he kind of needs it. I mean, I know you guys, they're just hearing from you guys on here, seeing it on the boards and on social media, there's not a whole lot of people that are big rah-rah about this program right now. They kind of need that. They need some juice. They need some excitement in this program. And your excitement right now is getting someone that you didn't want to enter the portal to get out of the portal. That's not great. So there's a lot of things that need to happen to get this team some juice. And maybe they don't care about that. Maybe they don't care about the juice. They just want to kind of handle their business. That's fine. But I think part of Mississippi State's, goal to getting back to where they are is getting this fan base excited again. And right now it's just not there. Random Yoda, are they going to reevaluate some of our lower-rated guys like Luke Work? What are the odds some of the other commitments that are high 3-stars get elevated to 4 stars? Yeah, that's the hope. The best shot of these guys getting reevaluated is letting the season play out, seeing what kind of film they put out there, letting our guys at 247 evaluate them that way. I think as far as who could be elevated to 4 stars, Terrence Hibbler, obviously, and he's a composite 4-star, but he's a 3 on ours. PJ Woodland is a 3-star on our network. He's a guy that's borderline. He has a chance. And then obviously Tyler Carter for sure could potentially get that bump as well. So those are the guys that I would be looking out for, I think, the most as possibilities for getting that 4th star in this current class. Tom T, from 1 to 10, what would you put our football recruiting now? The last couple of weeks have been good. I would say it's about a 7 right now, just based on expectations. We thought that this staff could recruit fairly well. I thought that Zach Arnett hired a really good staff to recruit the state of Mississippi. 7 or 8 for me as far as reaching and exceeding the expectations. Now, to get to stay at 8, maybe get to a 9 or something like that, they're going to have to sign these guys. But just for the, and I understand that you got to finish out the deal, but all we can go on right now is the job that they're doing currently, the guys they've gotten committed. And to have a J.J. Harrell and a Stonka Burnside, who we thought were going to extend this thing out and have a long recruiting process, to have them already in the boat. Terrence Sidward, not a huge surprise to get him. Get a 4-star quarterback in Josh Flowers. To get Jimothy Lewis on board. To me, that says a lot about what the staff's doing, and they're pushing towards a 10. I mean, they've done a really great job assembling this recruiting class. I think it has everything to do with the staff and their push for recruiting the state of Mississippi, pushing that Mississippi-made deal where these guys are coming from the state of Mississippi, getting to Mississippi State and being pushed into the NFL to be big-time players in the NFL. I think that has been a big deal in this recruiting process. And people talk about, you're going to have the people that are naysayers talk about NIL, Mississippi State's paying players, things like that. Maybe they are. I don't have any evidence of that. But I think it's just good old-fashioned recruiting. I think Mississippi State's just done a good job getting the right players in the class early and having those guys recruit for them. J.J. Harrell and Stonka Burnside and P.J. Woodland, those guys helping recruit Jimothy Lewis and people like that, I think that's a big deal. I think that has a lot to do with what they've done so far in this class. Random Yoda, do you know the guy that committed to baseball or that a guy? I know the guy that committed. I'm not going to talk about it. We've talked about the guy a little bit on the message board, but I'm going to let him have his moment and all that, and we'll let it play out. Hopefully that happens fairly soon. Troy King, what do you think the offense looks like this year? Will the experience of Will Rogers and some of the other skill players keep it afloat, or will the change from the air raid be too much? Also, Hell State from Tigginsboro, Massachusetts. Is it Tigginsboro? All right, man. You can correct me if I'm wrong. I'm perfectly fine with that. But welcome. Thanks for joining in. I think that this offense is going to be a lot more productive than people think. And I think I always say this about the air raid. Yes, it was fairly consistent, and Mississippi State did improve their numbers from what they did with Joe Moorhead, but that offense had its issues as well. I mean, defenses were able to stymie it a little bit. The drop 8, we saw what it did in 2020, and it had its lasting effects. I thought State did a better job the last couple of years against it, but it's not like this offense in the air raid was blowing people away either. I think this offense gives Mississippi State more ability to open up the playbook a little bit, to get the ball in the hands of more playmakers, to establish a running game to open up the pass. I like this offense a lot more than the air raid. Any offense that you have that a defense can just about completely game plan against it and shut it down, and you don't have a whole lot of different things that can change that, I think that's not a great offense. In this day and age, when you have an offense that people can say, we're just going to sit back in a drop 8, and if you can score on us, then great, but there's a greater chance that you're not going to. I don't think that's a great offense. Mississippi State had to kind of, do the death by 1,000 paper cuts thing with that offense, and it wasn't exciting. It wasn't fun to watch. If a team ran a man defense against that offense and Will Rogers and company could expose it, it was fun to watch, but that was kind of few and far between. A lot of times it was the defense kind of holding the other team down, and you would take advantage of a couple of big plays on offense and go from there. But there weren't a ton of explosive plays in that offense. There wasn't a whole lot of getting the ball in players like Tula Griffin's hands or establishing a running game, breaking off big runs. I mean, they had, like 4 or 5, maybe 3 or 4 runs of 30 or more yards in that offense. It just wasn't a fun offense to watch. And there's a big reason why that offense was adapted by a lot of different coaches to be different things. We saw, Lincoln Riley, what he's done with the offense. We've seen Dana Holgerson, what he's done with the offense. Cliff Kingsbury, they've changed it. Nobody is running that offense like Mike Leach did. So I think that held Mississippi State back in some regards. But also in some regard, Mike Leach, the way he ran his program, you can't deny how well he ran that thing and how well structured that program was. And that to me is the biggest thing. Is Mississippi State going to be able to have that stability across the board from a discipline standpoint, from a consistency standpoint, from a hard-working blue-collar mentality standpoint? I think they will, but that remains to be seen. We haven't seen Zach Arnett across an entire SEC season. So that to me is the biggest thing. I think the offense is going to be fine. I think State is going to have an offense that's going to be as productive, if not more, than the air raid. I would be really surprised if it's worse than what they did in the air raid. But I think the people that are naysayers own it as well. I think they have a case also. I don't think that's something that should be diminished at all. We haven't seen this offense with Will Rogers. We haven't seen Zach Arnett as a full-time head coach. We haven't seen Kevin Barbay in this league as an offensive coordinator. So the criticism, or maybe not criticism, but the skepticism that people have is warranted. I disagree with it, but I think that people have good points when they're trying to make them there. Kari, is it Carey or Kari? I'm going to say Carey. Carey Wright. Any guess on who the football commit is going to be this weekend that JJ Harrell is referring to? I don't have a 100% confirmation on it. I would guess, could be somebody like a Norwell White would be a possibility for it. It wouldn't shock me. Maybe William Eccles from Houston. Either one of those guys would be my pick. Norwell White's committed to Arkansas right now. That would be a straight-up flip for Mississippi State. And I feel like he's getting close to those guys. I don't have any confirmation that he's getting ready to commit to Mississippi State, but that's, that wouldn't be an absolute shock to me. Richard Neal, if Will Rogers has a good season, is he gone to the NFL? I think he has another year of eligibility. Yeah, I think he's probably going to leave. It would be a little bit of a surprise if he came back, but you never know. I mean, if he does come back, he's breaking every single passing record and going to make it a lot tougher for anybody to break the records that whatever he does. So, I think he's probably going to leave. I mean, 5 years on campus, that's a long time. I mean, to me, he's probably going to be ready to go. But who knows? We'll see what happens. He does have another year of eligibility because of COVID, though. Random Yoda, what does Will Rogers need to do to be in the top half of the draft? I think he has to show this year that he can run a multiple offense. A lot of people right now are looking at him like he's an air raid guy and he's tied to the air raid offense, when in reality, the offense that he's about to run, he ran much more of that style of an offense in high school than did the air raid. He ran some air raid concepts in high school, but he ran a lot of read option. They ran the football a little bit at Brandon. They did a lot of that. So to me, that's just not – I don't think that it's going to be that big of a deal. But just showing that he can be productive in the SEC in an offense that's not the air raid and he's not kind of a gimmick offense quarterback, I think is going to allow him to be in position to be an NFL quarterback. And I think if he doesn't get drafted, I think he'll make a practice squad. And I think it wouldn't shock me to see him being a Gardner Minshew type or Ryan Fitzpatrick, or a guy that sticks on a team and is a very reliable guy because he's a smart quarterback. He's been healthy. He's a guy that you can really count on. He's a good leader. It wouldn't surprise me at all to see that happen for him. I think he's going to get a shot in the NFL. Justin Cox, are you guys going to interview Justin Parker on TNL? I believe that Brian has already reached out to him, so that they're trying. to make that happen. So we'll see what happens there. Heath Johnson, are you going to continue this podcast throughout the football season? Really enjoy your insight away from TNL and hope you continue to deliver for us fans. I appreciate that, Heath. I'm sorry. Yeah. I usually try to do this once a week, and during football season we might try to do a little more, but especially during the summer, I'm trying. If we have news, I definitely like to do this during the week. Big news, I usually do a separate one that's not a live show. It's more of me just talking for 10, 15 minutes on my thoughts on something, my reaction, things like that. So when there's big things, I usually do that. And you can go back if you haven't looked at my channel. You can go back and see videos where I've talked about the pitching coach hire, commitments, reaction from baseball weekends, reaction from football wins, things like that. What I really want to do is during football season, what I've been talking about, and I can bounce that idea off you guys, is doing a live show during a football game and kind of talking about it with you guys during the game while we're watching, kind of reactions as it's going. I've thought about doing that for a long time. I've just never put it through. So I might do that some this weekend, this year during away football weekends, and we'll see how that goes. I've thought about doing that, so we might do that. And you guys can give some ideas too. I mean, this has been one of those deals that I started, I think, last year or 2 years ago, and I usually just put the camera up. I don't have a big production value, as you can see. I'm sitting in my office right now that's uncompleted. I'm sitting in my fuzzy chair. Richard will talk about the chair. I got guitar in the background, and this isn't a big-time production. I just like to talk to you guys and answer questions. You guys got some questions, things like that. I just enjoy doing this, so we'll make it whatever you guys want to. And on the chair, Richard, did you inherit that chair from Huggy Bear or Starsky and Hutch? Yeah, I got this chair. This chair is like well over 15 years old. We were walking through the mall one day. I think I was with my parents, and I was in like junior high or high school. It's probably 20 years old, to be honest with you. And I saw this chair. It was maroon. I was a big State fan. It felt comfy. I wanted to have it for when I'm playing video games and stuff. So I asked for the chair for my birthday, and my mom got it. And this thing has withstood college. It's withstood like 3 moves. My wife doesn't want it anywhere in the house that can be seen. So it's always in places that are hidden that nobody can see. I'm in this office right now. It's hidden my office. My wife is like perfectly thrilled with me having this office because all of my crap, all of my memorabilia and stuff is in here, so nobody has to see it. She's perfectly fine with that. As if she doesn't have to see it or nobody else has to see it outside of maybe this, she's good with it. But this thing is super comfortable. It is fluffy, as you can see. It's a good chair. It's a really good chair. All right, guys, any other questions before we get out of here? If you got them, throw them in. Not a lot going on right now. We're waiting on baseball portal news. Other than that, I mean, it's a dead period in football, so it's real kind of quiet right now. So there's not just a ton of stuff going on. But again, if you are around Louisville tomorrow, come see us. Thunder and Lightning will be in Louisville. Come have a great lunch. The lake has an incredible buffet lunch, or the menu is unbelievable. I'm going to get a catfish dish I'm really pumped about. So if you want to eat catfish, they got some great Superior catfish there. We're going to meet and greet with you guys. You guys want to stick around and talk to us, be glad to talk to you. We're talking to a representative from Superior Catfish. I'm going to talk to with Luke White, the owner of Lake Teakata. He runs it there. His family have been running that business forever. So we're excited to talk to him. And we'll have Bart Gregory on with us, the voice of Mississippi State baseball play-by-play on SEC Network Plus for basketball, baseball, and other sports as well. He's done some softball, some volleyball. Bart's been around forever. He's a Winston County native just like myself. So we're excited to talk to him as well. So come check us out at Lake Teokata tomorrow, Louisville. Brian and I are going to get there around 10:30. We're going to do interviews in and out. Our show will probably start at 11:30, something like that. So you can come check us out there. If you're not subscribed to our site at 247, come do it. We got a 50% off deal. We are a top 5 site in the last month in new subs. We have a record number of members. We've never had this many members at a Mississippi State site for subscriptions, so that's a big deal. Come check us out. And people know if you want to get Mississippi State information, you have to come to our site. So come check us out. 50% off deal. Come do that. If you're not subscribed to this YouTube channel, I'd appreciate a subscription. Just go down there and click on my picture. It'll pull up my channel and you subscribe to it. Doesn't cost you anything. It just alerts you whenever I'm doing new videos, when I'm doing these live shows. You get a chance to see that. If you miss anything, you can go look at those videos as well. So I appreciate you guys. I'm up to 1.55. So what is that? 1,050. I don't know. I'm not good at math. But anyway, it's over 1,000, whatever that is. All right, guys, but I appreciate you. Appreciate all the support you guys have for myself, for Thunder and Lightning, for 247 as well. It's fun doing this stuff. All right, guys, I'm done rambling. Appreciate you guys. Hope you guys have a great rest of your evening, a great rest of the